to be the man, you gotta beat the man.
Shadows sleeping in the dead of night. I light the match, they feel my fight. Street I flicker like a war zone flare. They see me rise, but they won't dare. Some man cracks under my stride. Whispers chase me, they collide. Gun dreams heavy like gold chains. Every sorrow that screams my name. Be legendary, feel the fire in your chest. No second guessing, this is your test. Be legendary.
Yes, that is right. We are back at it again for another episode of the Hoosier Legends Weekly Podcast. I am Justin Spears, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Mike Walden. Mike, how are you doing on this fine evening?
Hey, doing great. I feel bad for everybody watching on YouTube that you can't see our faces right now.
Yeah, we're battling with some technology tonight. It's going to be really contrary, and so we're trying to do everything we can to preserve our bandwidth and make sure that the audio comes through clear for those of you who like to listen, which, I mean, obviously, if you're tuning into this show, you're not tuning in to see our beautiful faces, but more to hear what we have to say about the great things that are going on in the Hoosier Legends Conference. And it was another legendary week for the Hoosier Legends Conference, as we'll get to here in just a little bit. But as always, we just want to make sure that we are helping to promote and grow the show. So again, if you are interested in contacting us, here is our email on the screen, HoosierLegendsPodcast@gmail.com. You can catch the show, as Mike mentioned, over on YouTube, our channel at Hoosier Legends Podcast. And then we're really active on X as well. And the show is loaded up on Spotify there. So you can find us on all of those platforms. Really enjoying the content that we're able to post up on X. I know that's a platform that a lot of people use to be able to get up-to-the-minute information when there isn't live stream events or just want to get results on things. We're over there at HLC Weekly Pod. So if you want to hit us up on X, Twitter, it is at HLC Weekly Pod. And again, we would love the opportunity to be able to showcase information, results, highlight your players. We will do it all. And if they have accounts, we're happy to tag them in there as well. There's been some fun interactions on there with some of our schools. So we really appreciate you guys sending that over. ADs, coaches, community members, feel free to pass on that information to us. Again, as we always say, we would love to be able to spotlight your programs and your players, right? Because that's what we're all about here on the Hoosier Legends Podcast. We want to highlight the great things that are being done by the young men and women at our member schools. So with that as a good segue in, we always kind of start up around the show with our legendary performance spotlight. So Mike, why don't you talk to us about something that you came across that when you showed it to me, I was like, yeah, that's definitely got to fit in to the legendary performance spotlight for this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a young gentleman playing for Triton Central Soccer. He's a sophomore midfielder who had 6 goals and 3 assists last week. So that's a total of 9 points associated to him, and that is none other than Evan Mitchell. Mitchell started with a goal and an assist in Triton Central's 6-0 win over Rushville. And then in a couple games against Providence and against Hauser, he recorded a goal in each one of those games. And then he closed out the week with a hat trick and 2 assists in the Tigers' 7-2 win over Milan. So tons of points from one sophomore, Evan Mitchell, being an absolute legend last week. So congratulations, Evan Mitchell. You are our legendary spotlights.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I can tell you guys, as having a son who plays soccer in the Tri-West program and having watched a lot of soccer in my life, that's tough to do. I mean, that is a sport that it's tough to break through and score, regardless of the competition that you're playing, your skill set. It's just a difficult game to produce points in. And so when you get that kind of a run, that is definitely legendary. So congratulations, Evan, and to the Triton Central Tigers on a great week there. So with that, we will transition into going through our member schools, and I will kick us off, Mike, if you're okay with that, by highlighting the Beech Grove Hornets.
Love it.
All right, here we go. Starting with flag football. I think, as you mentioned before, Mike, this is one of the only, if not only, HLC school that has a flag football team, and the Lady Hornets continue to produce great results as they move to 3-1 on the season after defeating the Silver Creek Dragons 44-13 last Saturday. Listen to this. On the season, they have outscored their opponents 143-77. My math isn't great because I went to Brownsburg High School, but I think that's nearly double what their opponents are putting up for points. So congratulations. Great job, ladies. Keep up the good work there. Boys soccer, the Hornets went 1-1 last week, earning their first win of the season, defeating Monrovia in an HLC contest 6-1. So congratulations to the Hornets on that. Junior Maycole Ortiz Sanchez netted 2 goals for the Hornets, while Bryson Sears, Carlos Mendez, Anthony Garcia Ordaz, and our guy, Courage Magwizi, each had 1 goal. Congratulations to the Hornets on their victory. Girls soccer split a pair of contests this past week, dropping a match to Heron 4-2 last Tuesday before rebounding to still a win over Speedway and PKs on Monday. Shout out to goalkeeper Harper Moore. We highlighted her on X, and kudos to Beech Grove for tagging us in that so that we were aware of it. That's what we're talking about right there. We love to be able to celebrate that. Harper Moore, who stopped the last 2 PKs by the Plugs to secure the win for the Hornets. That I talked earlier about how difficult it is to score when you're talking about playing goalkeeper and you're blocking PKs, especially 2 with the game on the line. That's pretty special right there in and of itself. So they are back in action Thursday as they take on conference rival Indian Creek. And then finally, from the Hornets last Tuesday, the Hornets took on county rival Decatur Central and dropped a close contest 3-2. Then on Thursday, they lost to future HLC member Shelbyville 3-0. The Hornets played Heron last night, but as of tonight, we did not find a score reported for that match. So that will take us down to the south side and to Indian Creek.
Hey, I was at Indian Creek on Saturday, and what a fantastic school, like a school building they have. Just the whole area is really beautiful down there. So if you have not made your way down to Indian Creek area, you're going to be kind of wowed by their new school. I don't know when they built it or when they rebuilt it, but it's really beautiful. They also have a really old baseball field that I was really concerned that they still played on right behind the baseball field. And I texted Coach Spence from Trier West, and I said, "Oh, if you guys play Indian Creek, this is going to be rough." And it turns out they do have a new all-turf field, so he's not worried about it. He said they did play there 2 years ago, and it was really rough. But Indian Creek is upgrading all their athletic fields, and it's looking really nice down there. So kudos to the AD for Indian Creek and all the people that live there, paying those taxes. I know it's kind of crazy, but man, your school looks really, really nice. But moving on into the actual sports that are getting played in the fall, the Lady Braves took down conference foe Beech Grove last Thursday by a score of 197-132. Shelby Roach of Indian Creek was the medalist for the match with a score of 46. The Lady Braves were victorious over Brown County and Hauser yesterday. Indian Creek scored a 216, Brown County 222, and Hauser had an incomplete score. The medalist for that match was Chloe Poling with a score of 47. Moving to boys soccer, the Braves took down Batesville on Thursday by a score of 2-1. The win moved the boys' record to 4-5 on the season. They are in the middle of a 10-day layoff as they will take on Monrovia next Monday. I'm sure the coach has them running a lot and being in condition for the rest of the season. Girls soccer, it was a tough week for the Lady Braves on the pitch as they dropped 2 conference matches this past week. The record now stands 3-6 on the season. They will be back on action against Greenwood Christian Academy Tuesday. Boys tennis took the court on Monday night and came away with a 4-1 win over Owen Valley. Nice job, boys. The volleyball team, they dropped a close contest to Greenwood Christian Academy On Monday, the loss dropped the Lady Braves to 11-3 on the season. They will take on my arch nemesis, Bishop Chatard, on Saturday. So go get that win.
Absolutely. Moving a little further west over toward Monrovia, Golf dropped their final regular season match to Cascade tonight at Deer Creek Golf Course. They will head into Northview Sectional on Friday at Forest Park Golf Course, and that is something that's worthy of noting. We have our first fall sport moving into postseason play this week with girls golf sectional starting on Friday. So again, just a shout out to the ADs and coaches out there. We would love to get results from those sectionals. If you'd like to email those or tweet them out and tag us on that, that would be fantastic. We would love to follow your guys' journey there with that. Boys soccer, the Bulldogs dropped a non-conference contest to North Putnam on Monday night. Lady Bulldogs on the girls' side, they have been on a heater. They are 8-3 on the season and have won 3 in a row, outscoring their opponents 16-2 in that stretch. Last week, the Lady Dogs defeated Indian Creek 8-0, and then beat that team from Southern Hendricks County that I know you like so well, Mike.
They're the worst.
5-2, right? 5-2. So good job, Lady Bulldogs, for taking those guys down. Again, they had a match tonight against Western Boone. We scoured the internet a little bit before we went on and could not find a result from that. We'll be sure to put that up on our Twitter feed as soon as we get that result posted there. On the volleyball court, the Lady Bulldogs sit at 4-9 on the season, but they've won 3 out of their last 6, including back-to-back sweeps of Beech Grove and South Putnam. So congrats to the Lady Bulldogs on that, and hopefully that'll build some momentum for them. And that will send us on over to Speedway.
Hey, speaking of that school, really in the middle of Hendricks County, but south of us on 39, I was there yesterday, and unfortunately, in middle school football, those Warriors beat our Bruins, both in 7th and in 8th grade. Tri-West put up a good fight, good defensive effort, but fell short. So congratulations to that team that we shall not speak of. So moving on to Speedway, like you said, west side of Indianapolis, their boys soccer team is absolutely phenomenal, right? They've had a kind of a bad week last week, but altogether, I think they are doing really well in our conference. We're going to talk about the standings here in a little bit, but I think they might be the team to watch for the boys soccer to win the first HLC soccer conference championship. But they had a tough one. They dropped a match to Ben Davis 2-1 and Covenant Christian 3-0. It is worth noting that the Warriors are ranked number 1 in 1A. So just understand that the team that they lost to, the Covenant Christian Warriors, is number 1 team in 1A. So that's a tough beat. Really tough team, good competition there. So, it's not all doom and gloom. That was a really, really tough team that they lost to. The Spark Plugs now stand at 5-3-2 on the season. They will look to rebound against Beech Grove tomorrow night. The girls soccer team lost their match against Pike last Saturday and then came up just short of securing their first win of the season before losing to Beech Grove in penalty kicks, as we talked about earlier. Thanks to Harper Moore on that one for Beech Grove. They will look to get in the win column tonight against Triton Central. So we'll find out how they did tomorrow. The volleyball girls have had a trio of matches since our last show, losing to Pike 3-0 on Thursday and an unreported match against Crispus Attucks. Now we're going to the west side of Hendricks County. I believe the farthest west of the HLC conference are Tri-West Bruins.
That's right. So starting us off with golf, Tri-West finished 8th at the Bulldog Shootout on Saturday at West Chase Golf Club. Macy Smith led the way with her personal best 89. So congratulations. You break 90. That's a great accomplishment. So Good job, Macy. They took on South Putnam tonight at West Chase Golf Club for their final match of the regular season. Yours truly was working there tonight, and if I would have done my job properly, I would have checked in with Coach on the result of that before I left, but I was busy trying to track down carts in the dark. So I will try to get a hold of Coach Ellis and find out what the result was there. They will enter into a very tough Brownsburg sectional on Friday, although it is their home course, so they get a little bit of a benefit there. Boys soccer, an up-and-down season continued for the Bruins this past week as they split a pair of matches, defeating HLC rival Beech Grove 4-1 before losing to Lebanon last night 5-1. In the win against Beech Grove, goals were scored by Evan Tooley, Lars Plume, Dami Adini, and Sam Fadiomi. In the loss to Lebanon, Evan Tooley netted the lone goal for the Bruins. They stand at 3-7-1 on the season. However, they are 3-0 in the conference. So it's kind of interesting, right? You're 3-7-1. Their out of conference schedule is extremely difficult. And I know Coach Mendenhall, like I mentioned, my son is in that program. I know he schedules a tough schedule because it's a tough sectional that we're in. And so he wants to prepare and get his guys battle tested for that. So again, they're going to take on Guerin Catholic next Tuesday. So again, the tough schedule continues, but hopefully that will pay dividends for them as they get a little bit closer, and they're still in the hunt for the conference. On the girls' side, the Lady Bruins went 1-1 this week as they defeated conference opponent Triton Central 5-0 on Monday before they dropped a hard-fought match to former Sagamore Conference rival Lebanon 2-0. Last night in the win, Ella Smith and Jordan Peters each had 2 goals, and Juliet Yeager scored once. Allie Miller in the defense produced another shutout. That's their 6th shutout on the season, so kudos to those guys. The Lady Bruins now sit at 7-4. However, they too remain perfect in HLC play at 4-0. They have a pair of non-conference matches coming up against West Lafayette and Danville. Boys tennis, the boys on the court continue to impress, showing tremendous growth this season. After dropping a match to McCutcheon and losing a close contest to Southmont, the boys showed some grit in beating Lebanon 4-1. Sophomores Eric Dean and Wyatt McMillan won at 1 singles and 2 singles, while junior Connor Smith got the win at 3 singles. The 4th point was won by the 2 doubles team of Noah Welsh and Colton Losh, and Colton was the player of the match there, so kudos to him. The boys will look to continue their success tonight as they take on South Putnam. Special congratulations to Eric Dean winning his 10th match of the season at number 1 singles. And Mike, did you see a final on that South Putnam score tonight? I think they won 4-0 or 5-0. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I saw, 5-0.
5-0, yeah, 5-0. So we do have that update there as well. So again, congratulations to those guys. They keep showing improvements each and every match. Volleyball, the Lady Bruins took their show on the road, traveling to Illinois for an invite where they went 2-3, securing wins over Grace County and St. Francis. Those are both of Illinois, before dropping matches against Mater Dei of Illinois, Normal University, and Libertyville. Against all of those schools are from Illinois. And I was curious because I didn't know, but I spent a little bit of time pouring through Max Preps. All 3 of those schools are ranked in the top 25 in the state of Illinois. So I would imagine volleyball is probably pretty vibrant over there, as it is in a lot of Midwest states. Finally, the ladies return to local action tonight, dropping a contest to number 6 Ron Colley 3-1. The Bruins now sit at 15-7 on the season. So again, nothing to sneeze at. They too, like our boys soccer program, play an incredibly difficult and grueling schedule. And I know, again, that's to help prepare them for that second season when you get into postseason play there. So that'll wrap it up for the Bruins. Let's throw it over to the far southeast side with our Triton Central Tigers.
Hey, Coach, before we get there, Ron Colley won state last year, right? Is that who beat us in semi-state in volleyball?
I believe that is correct.
Yeah, I think so. So they have a tremendous amount of talent down there at that school. So, I mean, they're ranked number 6 in the state for a reason, right? That's a really good team. Also, and I know we talk a lot about our boys tennis team here at Tri-West, but Coach Walkie I think he told me, I think we talked about this in the past. They only won 1 match last year, right?
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
And their record now is they've won like 5 or 6. Is that right, or am I off on that?
No, I think that's right, and I know their JV is one. I think he said he posted tonight that they're 8-5-1. So there's he's making strides with the young guys too.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible work. 2 years, a 2-year-old program went from 1 win, to where they're at now. And most of our guys, I don't think do we have a senior on a team? I know that 1 and 2 singles is our sophomores, and our 3 is a junior. Do you know if we have any seniors?
Yeah, I don't believe so.
Yeah, so that's incredible young talent, and like you said, the JV is doing really well there too. So shout out to Coach Walkie and everything that he's doing for us on the tennis side of things. As you said, on the far southeast side, Triton Central, their boys soccer team beat conference rival Monrovia 8-0. Liam Thompson with a hat trick +1. Evan Mitchell with 2 goals. Dylan Hayden scored 1, and so did Andrew Barry. So congratulations to them. The girls soccer team tied with Franklin 2-2. Freshman Maddie Burnett scored both of Triton Central's goals. Burnett's second goal came off an assist from Riley Pruitt with 10 seconds left on the clock to force a tie. Talk about being legendary, right? Like,
Yeah,
ice cold in the veins and playing to the whistle. So that's awesome. Errol Walker was credited with an assist on Burnett's first goal. Franklin dropped to 5-4-1. Triton Central's junior varsity squad improved to 7-0-1 this season with a 1-0 win over Franklin. I believe the Tri-West girls JV soccer team is undefeated as well, so that'd be a fun match when they play each other.
Mm-hmm.
Alina Collar scored the goal for the Tigers. The Lady Tigers were victorious tonight versus Speedway 8-0. Triton Central goals from Pruitt, Burnett, Walker, Bedwell, Ackerman, Reardon, Collar, and Lopez. So it's like they had the whole team out there scoring. Allen had their 7th shutout of the season. Up next will be senior night. So go out and support those seniors on Monday against Acina starting at 5:30. The boys tennis, Triton Central beat Edinburgh 5-0. Braden Hoover won at 1 single, 6-1, 6-2. Braden Robertson at 2 singles, and Talon Cinder at 3 singles, all won with a 3-set win, a number 2 doubles. So Triton Central Tennis defeated Covenant Christian on Monday 3-2 as well. Those boys continue to do really well down on the southeast side. Their volleyball team fell behind 2-0 at Greenwood Wednesday. I think they call that, right? A reverse sweep or something like that, where they start off 2-0 and then they come back and rally and win 3 in a row. So congratulations to them once again. Triton Central players showing a lot of grit down there. Tonight, Triton Central won over Speedway in 3 sets. Another little thing that we were seeing is some alumni coverage out there, and we want to take this time to ask all of the ADs, the parents, the coaches, the players, if you have some alumni that you think that deserve some shout outs out here, please let us know. But Triton Central has a couple alumni who've done great things. Oliver Gerald, the Triton Central graduate, secured a top 10 finish on September 9th in the Pretty Lake Intercollegiate in Plymouth, Indiana, held at Perry Lake Golf Course. Gerald's competing for IU Kokomo, opened the 3-round event on September 8th with an 81. He then followed with rounds of 73 and 71. We just talked about it. That is grit. You start off with an 81, probably not his best score, probably a little upset, shooting +9 there. Then came back with a +1 and then a -1. So great job on him. Braden Wilkins, this Triton Central graduate, had 55 yards of total offense on Saturday in Franklin College, 38-14 loss to number 18 Hope. Wilkins carried the ball for 13 yards, had 2 catches for 14 yards, and 2 kickoff returns for 28 yards. Franklin College right now is 1-1 this season. So congratulations to that alumni. Triton Central, as we just talked about over and over again, and I apologize for not having a thesaurus beside me, but they have grit. That's some legendary performances right there. They could have all given up, but they all kept trying and end up winning and doing like a really good job. So congratulations.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's what you're looking for, in somebody in terms of growth as a team, as an individual. I will say, just as I know we're going to talk a little bit about this more when we talk about the football stuff here in just a little bit. But that's something that stuck with me Friday night as I called the Tri-West Speedway game for the Tri-West Sports Network. Speedway came out swinging, and then they got down pretty big. But you know what? I didn't see any finger pointing. I didn't see any yelling or anything like that. Those guys played hard the entire time. And you love to see that kind of stuff. Obviously, when it results in, victory, that's fantastic. But, even in defeat, to be able to keep your composure, to have pride, to play for your program and not get selfish or try to tear, other teammates down. That says a lot about the character of these young men and women when they're faced with adversity, right? And I'm sure, especially when you're on the losing side, it's so easy to get down on yourself and your teammates. And so to keep that positive attitude, again, I think that says a lot about your leadership in your program. So again, kudos to all of those players for showing that resilience. And that's something I know we've talked about before on this show. So great work there by those athletes.
Also,
Mike,
hey, I want to give kudos to you, Justin, because I just said I don't have a thesaurus beside me, so I couldn't say anything but grit. And you used competitiveness and character, and you said another word out there too. And so, congratulations to you. I mean, that's really
man,
good.
I do what I can. That's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I know you were about to say it, so I'm going to go ahead and interrupt you and do it myself.
Yep.
We are going to go ahead and start a new segment here, probably something that we should have done from the very beginning. But now that a lot of our teams have started conference play or in the middle of conference play, we want to go ahead and give you a shout out to let you know where all the conference standings are that we have in front of us. Justin, do you want to just go every other one here, or do you want me to go ahead and say all of them?
Yeah, we can alternate. That sounds good.
Okay. So we're going to start with men's tennis. Right now we have Triton Central on top of the standing board at 2-0. And then Indian Creek is standing at 3-1 in conference play. Tri-West right behind Indian Creek. They're 2-1. So they're a little bit lower since they haven't played as many games. And then you have Speedway at 1-3, and then Beach Grove 0-3. Unfortunately, it looks like I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but Monrovia must not have a tennis program. Do you know, Coach?
Yeah. I think that Coach Walkie had told me before that Monrovia does not have a boys, at least a boys. I don't know if they have a women's or not, but yeah, I know they don't have a boys tennis team.
You want to go ahead and mention the volleyball standings?
Yep. So moving on over to volleyball, the way things sit right now, Tri-West is on top at 4-0. Then we have Indian Creek coming in at 2-1, followed by Triton Central at 1-1, Monrovia at 1-2, Speedway at 0-2, and Beach Grove at 0-3. So again, looks like the Bruins have played a little bit more in the way of conference matches here early in the season. It'll be interesting to see as we creep a little bit closer toward the end of the season if Indian Creek or any of those other teams can make a push to the top against the Bruins for the conference lead.
And you kind of alluded to this earlier by talking about how the soccer standings are. When we look at the men's soccer standings, Tri-West is 3-0, Speedway is 2-0. So those two teams right there are fighting for the lead. Indian Creek is third place with 2-2, and then Triton Central and Beach Grove are both 1-2, and Monrovia is right now sitting at 0-3 in men's soccer standings.
Yep, and then we flip it over to the women's side, and as I mentioned earlier, again, the Tri-West Bruins currently sitting at 4-0 in conference play, followed closely behind Monrovia. We mentioned the heater that they're on. They are currently at 3-1 in the conference standings. Triton Central comes in behind them at 2-1, and then a pair of 1-2 teams in Indian Creek and Beach Grove, and finally Speedway sits in at 0-5.
And then lastly, we have the football standings. Triton Central is number one there at 2-0, followed by Indian Creek with 1-0, then Tri-West in a third place, 1-1, and then Speedway, Beech Grove, and Monrovia are all sitting at 0-1 at this early standing point of the conference play.
Yeah, and as we kind of finish up with football standings there, that's a good segue into our football segment of the program. So before we jump into that, we'll share kind of a funny story. And I know that there may be some others that we lose at this point in the show, as our beloved girls soccer coach, Dustin Malacote, told me, "I'm glad that you cover football at the end because I hear what I need to, and then I can tune out and drop out." So no, in all seriousness though, I mean, obviously we've talked about it before. Football is it consumes so much. It's such a big follow sport in the fall that we want to give it the proper attention that it needs. And that's part of the reason why we place it towards the end, so that if you're wanting to hear some of the other sports mentioned, you don't have to wait until the end of the show. Although we'd love for you to stick around. We want that. We want you to listen to all of our content. But certainly giving football a little bit more time here at the end. We look at our standings as we just went through. Mike, one other thing that I would mention is the overall standings right now, too. You've got 2 4-0 teams, 2 3-1 teams. That's pretty phenomenal for a 6-team conference at this point. And you have 3 of those teams that have scored over 100 points already this season through the first 4 games, which again, math-wise, if you're kind of going through and doing that, you got some pretty good averages, points per, and the defense is also really solid. All 4 of those teams all 3 of those teams, I should say, have given up less than 75 points on the season. So a lot of great things going on there. We're going to talk a little bit about recapping last week. Anything else that you want to mention about standings before we move into last week's recap?
The only thing I wanted to point out is if you look at Triton Central and Indian Creek, the 2 teams that are 4-0, both of their defenses are the same. They've only let up 51 points. I know that saying is like, offense wins games, but defense wins championships. And if we're going for that HLC championship, right there's your defense, only allowing 51 points. But it's kind of cool that both Triton Central and Indian Creek are the exact same for how many points they've allowed. Yeah,
that's a great point for sure. Absolutely. So last week we hyped it up as an all-conference week, and it was, and some really interesting results. I think of the 3 games that we saw, 2 were pretty close to on par for what we thought, and then we just got absolutely mollywopped by one of those results. And I know you and I looked at each other at the game Friday night, and just eyebrows popped when we saw this score. So kudos to the Indian Creek Braves, 42-0 win over Beech Grove. Did not see that result coming. Not completely shocked that they won, but certainly obviously I did a prediction and I wouldn't have ever had guessed in a simulator 42-0 in that win. Mike, I know there was some articles that were written about that game as well. It looked like it was just kind of total domination from early on. I think Indian Creek was up 28-0 at the half, and Beech Grove just really, from what I could tell, could not get anything going on offense at all. You mentioned the defense for Indian Creek. I know they had a couple of turnovers in that game. Completely went out and did not leave any doubt about who the better team was on that evening.
Yeah, it was really impressive. We've said it so many times about, Ramey and Clark, and how that's going to be an impressive duo all season long. And, you can just tell that their connection is getting stronger and stronger with their performance. When we kind of heard an interview with Indian Creek's head coach, and he said, Beech Grove kind of added gasoline to the fire. It's all speculation, but, I think the boys everywhere need to understand everything they say and everything they do is, what do they call it? They put it on the chalkboard, or they put it on the, it's poster board material, or whatever the saying is. And that's what they did, right? I think fans, players, coaches, they all have to understand that sportsmanship means something, And when you go to another school and you start being disrespectful and you say disrespectful things, that's going to fire the other team up, you know. And I think Beech Grove kind of saw that happen to them, and I hope they learn. If it's true, right? I mean, it's all legendary, or not legendary, but
Speculation.
Speculation. Thanks once again. You're my thesaurus. I appreciate you. You know, if it's true, you know, that you just have to learn. You know, sometimes you can't go over the line because once you cross that line, you can't take it back. And I think Indian Creek felt disrespected, and they came out and showed what it takes to win. So, good job on Indian Creek. You know, the second game of the evening, we thought Triton Central would win, 24-14. I think I know at least one of those touchdowns for Monrovia happened near, you know, during like JV time, near the very end of it. Triton Central pretty much had the game won by the time Monrovia scored. And then you kind of talked about it earlier too, with Tri-West or Speedway. You know, the score would end up being 63-21. Tri-West Bruins went into Speedway and got the win. But at one point, it was 14-14. And then as Tri-West got it going and started scoring some points, you never saw Speedway quit. You know, Tri-West just ended up having some big plays after big plays. But, you know, I give all the kudos to Speedway as a team that is getting better and they're learning. And, you know, they never showed quit, or they never showed disrespect to anybody. So kudos to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, you know, look, having been a former, I coach golf now, but I've coached basketball at the varsity level as a varsity assistant, JV. I coached 1 year of football. That 1 year of football that I coached was a very difficult year all around for the program. And I can tell you, it is so easy for the cancer to set in a locker room, for people to be out for their stats. You know, like you talked about, also spills over with the bulletin board stuff. People get on, they start, you know, pointing fingers, and, you know, you hear it in the stands, you hear it in the community and things like that. And I didn't get a sense of that at all, being in the Speedway sideline, in their stands, you know, out in the open where I could hear. I never heard any disparaging remarks, anything like that. And as I said, observing the players' body language and everything that they, you know, tried to produce on that field Friday night, you know, again, kudos to them. They had come off of back-to-back shutouts. They hadn't scored at home. There's all this hype and hoopla about the renovation and the new facilities. And, you know, I'm sure coach is probably like, hey, that's great, but we're putting a product on the field too. And these kids are spending a lot of time on the field trying to get better, busting their butts. So to put up 21 points, you know, it's a building block, hopefully, for them. And I want to see them be successful. I want to see them have a breakthrough. And I think if they continue to use that coaching cliche analogy, chop wood, right? Eventually that will come through, and they'll see it, you know, and hopefully they'll be able to look back on these tough times and be able to say, hey, remember when we were, you know, 0-4 to start the season, and, you know, we were struggling to do anything productive, and look where we've come now. So just to those guys over there, you know, I know you probably hear it from your coaching staff and other people, but keep your heads up, keep pounding. You guys are going to do great things at some point. It's just a matter of time before you get that breakthrough. So keep it going over there, Speedway. We're rooting for you guys. I hope you have some success here as the season rolls along. So that will take us then, Mike, to our upcoming preview for this week's contest. Do you want to kick us off with our first matchup?
Yeah, so this is rivalry week for Tri-West. They play that school in Central Hendricks County. Danville, they're 2-2. Tri-West is 3-1. Jamie Comer is 43-17 in his 6th year at Danville. Before that, he was over at Western Boone, so he's known Tri-West. He's coached against Tri-West for way more than 6 years. Jason Ward is 56-20 in his 7th year at Tri-West. Coach Ward's been coaching at Tri-West probably for like 20 years now, but just his 7th year as head coach. So, you know, this year will be the last time that Tri-West and Danville plays for a couple years. And throughout its whole course of history, I think they're 27-27 or 26-27. And so it's a 50-50 game every time that they play each other. Next year, due to scheduling conflicts, Tri-West and Danville will not play each other. Danville is going to end up playing Cascade again in the second week of the season, and then Tri-West will be heading down to Evansville to play Evansville Rights. So that'd be a cool game down there for the 2026 season, and then they restart their rivalry series again in 2027. Danville had kind of like a weird season. We're not used to seeing them 2-2, right? They typically have a one loss coming into playing against us, but they're hit and miss right now. They did end up beating Hamilton Heights 27-24. I think they ran the ball almost 50 times against Hamilton Heights. They have a really good quarterback. His stats look good too, but I think Coach Comer sees against the defense, he knows what is going to work and what isn't going to work. And then once he starts to be able to pick away at somebody, he's just going to keep hammering it. And I think that's what he did to Hamilton Heights. And I'm afraid that's what he's going to see at Tri-West too. He's going to find an opening and he's going to start picking at Tri-West defense and see if he can't get us to win or get Danville to win. Tri-West did defeat Speedway, as we talked about earlier, 63-21. But I'm going to be honest with you, we did not look as impressive as that 63-21 score. I know at least 14 of those points came with our second strings being out there. One was like a 65-yard pass. So, like, Tri-West did not beat Speedway as bad as that looks. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, Coach, is I think as a dad, as a fan, I'm not really positive, good outlook on Tri-West football right now. There's a lot of stuff that they need to clean up. We're lucky that we have a good quarterback that can make some good reads and some good passes. But Danville knows that, and I'm afraid they're going to know how to play against us. Just because I can't say it any other way, I'm going to say Tri-West wins, but this is going to be a last second touchdown, last second field goal that ends up winning. Tri-West wins 36-35, but asterisk, I can see Danville pulling this off, and it'll really be heartbreaking if we end up losing to these guys.
Yeah, I concur with a lot of what you said there. And you cannot overstate that, the old cliche about throw the records out the window. I mean, it's true. I'm not as historically attached to this rivalry as some are because of being a Brownsburg guy, and not really having been at Tri-West for very long yet. Obviously, I know of the rivalry. I know, within both communities, it runs deep. You're talking about generations of, families. You're included in that, right? That have had participation in this rivalry. And it really does, I think, affect, the psychology of the players as they go into the game and trying to do too much or overperform or play up above, their normal level because they're wanting so badly to beat their rival. I agree with what you said about Coach Comer. I think that the one thing I would be concerned about, as you mentioned, with the rushing attack is if they see what Triton Central was able to accomplish, right, and exploit that. So it's really going to take a concerted effort from the defensive unit, especially the front 7 or 8, if we put it 8 in the box, to try to shut that down and just dare them to beat you with their arm. But just have that mentality that you're not going to run for 200 yards against us, and we're willing to slow this thing down, even though we've got a high-powered offense. If we've got to grind out the win, we'll grind out the win. We're capable of running the ball. I thought about this a little bit after the Speedway game and started thinking about what I've observed. Our run attack is serviceable. I think it's enough to keep defenses honest. So that helps, Jack, obviously, not that he needs a lot of help, but certainly if you've got, a little bit of a run game that you can throw at the defense again to kind of keep them on their heels, keep them guessing. It works in some play action, and hopefully that softens them up a little bit to be able to hit that deep ball, which looks like, that's kind of what we like to do. And so, yeah, I agree. I see this close. Harold sees it as 35-31 Tri-West. I would say that I think probably, the preparation, the emotion, I think hopefully the big tipping point will be home field. And I know we talked about that before, that, at the high school level, how big of a factor is home field advantage? Well, I mean, you look at some crowds, and I know Danville's going to bring a ton because it's close by, but there's just something about being comfortable at home. You're in your locker room, you're in your environment that can maybe help ease a little bit of the nerves. Maybe playing in front of your home crowd makes it worse. I don't know. But I know that they're going to have a lot of people cheering for them and hopefully pulling them through. And hopefully that's enough to get Tri-West the win. I see this a little bit more low scoring because of what I see with the run game. I'm going to go Tri-West 20, Danville 14.
Yeah, I like that too. I don't think Danville has scored a lot of points this year necessarily, so that's probably a good outlook on that. When we go down to the southeast side of Indianapolis, we're going to see the Monrovia Bulldogs, who are 1-3, take on Beech Grove, who we talked about getting their first loss against Indian Creek last week. Andy Olson is 34-29 in his 6th year at Monrovia. And Rashawn Mosley is 7-7 in his 2nd year at Beech Grove. He's 10-13 in his 3rd year overall. When you're looking at Sagarin ratings, Monrovia is 126th overall, 18th in 2A. Beech Grove is 135th overall, 29th in 4A. Last 40 years, Beech Grove is 6-5. The last meeting was in 2024 when Monrovia won 55-22. John Harrell has this as a 28-24 Monrovia win. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going against John Harrell here, and I'm saying Beech Grove is going to get back on its winning ways, be able to stop Monrovia's rushing attack, and I see this as a 35-14. Beech Grove comes out with a big win.
Wow. Okay. I like that call. That's bold. Well, I think Monrovia is probably kind of trying to go about this the same way that they did going up against Kokomo. Can they be the giant slayer? Again, not that it's a huge difference as big as it was when they took on Kokomo, but certainly a 2A team against a 4A team, right? There's a little bit of a difference there in the size of those two schools. But here they are, they're conference rivals too. So you got to just take it, there's nothing you can do about it. And so, can they channel that inner giant slayer again? I think Beech Grove is probably in a little bit better situation coming into this game than Kokomo was. Again, no disrespect to Monrovia. I know that we've talked about the difficulty of their schedule so far this season, and I know Coach Olson's probably going to listen to this and play this clip back and kind of say what we talked about earlier. But, we're just prognosticating, we're just kind of going off what we see and what we think is going to happen. It's by no means disrespect. I picked Monrovia to beat Kokomo. But I do kind of maybe see Beech Grove being a little bit too much in this. I think obviously, Coach Mosley was probably pretty embarrassed by what happened last week, and I'm sure he's used that as motivation to get his boys fired back up and not lose focus, right? Because this is where this season can kind of go sideways. If you're resting on your laurels, you come out to gate 3-0, and you're thinking, all right, we can just show up and make this thing happen. And I'm sure he probably said, that's not how this thing works, guys. You got to earn every single thing that you get on that football field. And so I think that's probably been the message this week. I'm sure it's probably been received pretty well by his players, and I see Beech Grove bouncing back in this, although I do see it a little bit closer. I'll go Beech Grove 28, Monrovia 21.
Good call on that one. Let's see. I think it's easy for us every time that we see two undefeated teams say this is going to be the game of the week, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It is Indian Creek 4-0 at Lapel 4-0. They're playing at the Boneyard. That's a cool name, right? So Lapel, their coach Tim Miller is 88-67 in his 14th year at Lapel. Indian Creek's coach Max Gooden is 9-6 in his second year at Indian Creek. Sagrin has Lapel 48th overall and second in 2A. They have Indian Creek 59th overall and 8th in 3A. The last time they played, Indian Creek defeated Beech Grove 42. Oh, that was the last game they played. The last time they played each other, Lapel won, and their overall record is 1-0 over the last 40 years. Lapel ended up winning that game 42-12. John Harrell has Lapel winning this game 28-14, or 28-24. That's my bad. I'm going to say Indian Creek is on a roll. They're playing hard. Coach Gooden has them going in the direction they want them to go. I don't see anything stopping them. Lapel is a 2A school. Indian Creek is a phenomenal 3A school. Just based on that, I'm saying Indian Creek wins this game 21-17.
All right, I like it. Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with everything. 4-0, 4-0, both teams top 10 ranked in their classes. I think when I look at this game, the thing that this kind of game screams to me, and you mentioned it right off the bat, it's the coaches and their experience, and I just think that sometimes you get someone that's built a program with sustained success, and then you get an up and coming team, right? And it's like you've had a lot of success, but like, can you continue that, right? They're kind of like on the same theme of Beech Grove, right? I mean, and again, I don't know. I wasn't at that game, so I have no idea, right? Was it the supposed disrespect or whatever that took place, or was it, hey, this team just showed up not ready to play, thinking that they could again rest on what they had accomplished. Learning how to win in tough games when you haven't had that pedigree of doing it. Sometimes can make the difference, right? We see that even at the professional levels with teams that are up and coming, and then they get, the spotlight gets a little bit brighter, the competition gets a little bit tougher, and then it's not through lack of effort or talent, but just learning and knowing how to win those big games. That would be my only question mark here with this game. And so I want to say Lapel is going to pull this out, but I'm with you. I think Indian Creek's got it rolling right now. There's something special about what Coach Gooden is doing down there. You mentioned the defense being stingy, ball control. I think they've got the setup to be able to go up and knock off the Bulldogs here at the Boneyard. I'm going to go Indian Creek 10, Lapel 7.
Wow. Hey, and I want, as my brain has been turning here, if and only if Coach Miller is the Tim Miller from Tri-State, played tight end there, I'm going to give Lapel the edge. But if that's not the same Tim Miller, then I'm still going with Indian Creek. So just know.
I love it.
I'm not sure if this is the same Tim Miller I knew back in college or not. I knew he was coaching, so that might be him. So,
Right.
When we go down to the West Side, Speedway's getting the host of their second conference game in a row, and they're going against another really tough opponent, with Triton Central being 4-0 and Speedway being 0-4. When we're talking about coaching, we've talked about him in the past, Coach Abel, and a future Hall of Fame coach in his 32nd year overall. He's 114-40, 13th year at Triton Central. Then you have Coach Clampett, his 5th year at Speedway, 22-26. When we're looking at Sagrin ratings, Triton Central is 70th overall and 5th in 2A. And Speedway is 242nd overall and 50th in 3A. The last time they played, Triton Central defeated I did this 2 times in a row. Let me apologize once again. Last time they played, Triton Central won 37-6. So they have a series over the last 40 years. Triton Central is 13-3. John Harrell has this as a 35-14 game. Yeah, I know how Triton Central plays. I know how stingy their defense is. It would not be surprised if Triton Central goes ahead and shuts out Speedway. I'm going to go ahead and say Triton Central, I don't think they can score 35 points necessarily. They're not a big offensive production type of team. So I am saying 27-7 Triton Central wins.
I like it. I like everything that you just said, and there's no reason for me to ramble on. So I will just say ditto, and we can move on to wrapping up the show with some football stats.
All right. So every week we go over the football stats. Who are the top 3 performers at each position? We start off with quarterbacks and how many yards they've thrown. Jack Sorge's leading the conference with 1,192 yards. Bishop Moore from Beech Grove has 524 yards. And Matthew Wilkins from Triton Central with 480 yards. When we're going to the receivers, Carter Cummings from Tri-West is leading the conference with 416 yards. Jack Scarver from Tri-West is leading with 289 yards. And remember, that's only 3 games. He was out against Speedway. Tri-West is hoping to have him back this Friday, and everything looks like he will be back. Then Jackson Ramey from Indian Creek is in third with 277 yards. Going to the running backs, Carson Parks from Beech Grove has 466 yards. Drew Pingleton from Indian Creek, 375 yards. Ryder Bain from Monrovia, 367. And then Braden Brown from Triton Central has 361. So I wanted to get his name up there too because he was right behind Mr. Bain there. Total touchdowns, Carson Parks is, lapping everybody in the conference with 11 touchdowns. Carter Cummings has 6 touchdowns, Ryder Bain 5 touchdowns, and Braden Brown from Triton Central with 5 touchdowns. Going over to the defensive side of things, leading the conference are 2 Monrovia guys, Gage Tolan and Peyton Hall with 46 tackles. And in third place, Abe Hayes from Tri-West with 42 total tackles. I listed 6 people here for sacks. These are all 6 kids who have 2 or more sacks. Ty Bergman from Triton Central. Dallas Clark, formerly from the Colts, that now plays for Triton Central, has 2 sacks. Horace Colley, 2 sacks. And then we move into the top 3 with Gabe Miller at 2.5 sacks. Jet Lawson from Tri-West with 3 sacks. And Nate Chapman with Speedway leading it with 3 sacks as well. Then for our defensive backs, interceptions, we have 4 kids in the conference, all tied with 2 interceptions. That's Luke Strong from Triton Central, Javier from Beech Grove, Colby Schmaltz from Monrovia, and Jack Taylor from Monrovia. So congratulations to all those guys on leading the legendary conference by having a legendary year so far.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations, guys. And yeah, there's some great things happen. Obviously, we've talked about how this is a run-heavy conference so far. The air attack from the Bruins seems to be the outlier. And obviously having, a Division I recruit helps with that as well. But, hey, you still got to go out and perform. And so, I know Jack's done a great job at the beginning of the season spreading the ball around. And, but it's also good to see some of that old-fashioned, rushing too. So whatever type of offense you're running, you got to execute. And so there's a lot of good stuff happening there across the board. So, all right, Mike, well, before we put a bow on this one, is there anything else that you would like to mention?
I would just like to say that Bruins will beat Danville. I am going to keep saying it out loud to make it happen. I am very nervous about this game on Friday.
Hey, it ought to be a good one, along with that Indian Creek Lapel matchup as well. A lot of scoreboard watching, intriguing matchups. It ought to be a fun weekend of Friday Night Lights. Hopefully the weather cooperates. I know this is one of the first weekends coming up, first Fridays that I think were a little dicey on weather. Hopefully the rain stays away and we can play these without having to worry about the elements too much. So I know we'll be looking forward to coming back with you guys next week to go over all these results and much more. Thank you for tuning in. You've now heard another episode of the Hoosier Legends Weekly Podcast.
Not given, it's one, it's one. It's one. Concrete jungle's got upholstered beats. My heart sings, I'm with the city streets. I'm not the